Hello and welcome back to our Embodied Divinity, the YouTube TV show and podcast where we normalize the spiritual awakening journey by talking to healers, goddesses, divine feminine conscious awakened beings to discuss their healing journey and their connection to the divine so that we can all share what those different journeys look like and better understand how normal and divine we all are. Today, I have a very special treat and very special guest. I'm talking with Carrie Bakier, who is a chronic illness ally and holistic coach. And because of our divine connection and our upcoming surprises, she is going to be asking me the questions today. So we're flipping the script. Carrie, thank you so much for being here and existing in this world.
Oh my gosh, it's such a pleasure. I'm so thrilled to be here. And I find it so much fun to flip the script and get to interview you a little bit. So I think I'm going to dive right in and get the opportunity to go deep a little bit on who is Beth. So I'm going to start off by sharing. Beth is Love It Yoga Coaching, a verbal abuse and multiple herniated disc thriver of over 14 years who has finally chosen to walk away with forgiveness of not only her own self-hatred and sabotage, but her anger towards her abusers. After surviving an 8-year struggle with what began as a herniated L5-S1 disc at the age of 20, with a micro discectomy that led to not only multiple awakenings, but also many more herniations and injuries along her journey. Beth finally chose, with the help of many guides, coaches, mentors, and friends, to leave her corporate marketing job in New York City and travel the world as she has always wanted to. This journey brought her into ultimate self-love, which is a daily cycle of remembrance, and led her, with the help of the divine, to awaken to her own unlimited potential, to live the type of life she truly always wanted, but never even knew was possible until she was shown the unveiling of the conditioned world where she was taught and agreed to. And by following the goddess's message through meditation and intuitive spiritual practice, has come to truly know what it means to live the purpose that was waiting for her all along, just beyond her pain. She now guides seekers of their own connection to the divine through coaching, sustainable rituals, yoga, powerful, I'm not good at this one, we're going to try it, pranayama, and mainly meditation. She fully knows that everyone is able to heal their own pain and step lovingly into the methods they already know work for them to reveal their own ultimate purpose and live a life fully aligned, not only in their spine, but with all elements of their being. We are all spirit channeled into human form. The pain just blocks us from what is trying to express, but also gives us a unique window into how we are meant to work with it in this life. Oh my gosh, what a journey. I feel like there's so much packed into that. And so one of the first questions is, where are you now? Traveling the world, where are you now?
I live in Cambodia, down south near the sea and right along the river in a river town called Kampot.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been in Southeast Asia for about 3.5 years. Yeah.
Well, and it seems like it took a while for you to get to this place where you are now. the physical place, the emotional space, the spiritual space. So can you share a little bit about those multiple awakenings that you experienced that led you to this space that you're in now?
Wow, yeah. There have been many. And there will continue to be, I am sure. Yeah. The awakenings began mostly from physical injury. So, herniated disc at the age of 20, really was just an initial awareness of something is really wrong that I'm
Mhm,
not seeing.
mhm,
And I didn't really even acknowledge that any of it was linked to my spirit, my trauma, my connection to myself and my intuition, really until I was experiencing so much pain. I had seen every single type of doctor, um, chiropractors, osteopaths, um, acupuncturists, craniosacral therapists, massage therapists, and every single thing that I tried, I didn't know it at the time, but it was just divine telling me, you have the support. You have all of this. It's all here. You can access it all. And at the same time, it was too much.
mhm,
You know, I was constantly seeking someone else to solve my problems.
mhm.
And don't get me wrong, it helped immensely. Every single doctor and specialist gave me a little more information into, you can do this and this can help. If it works for you, then you can move into that space and create rituals around that. They didn't use that same terminology because in the medical field, right, it's just like, get an MRI, get injections, go to physical therapy, take these steroid packs, get electric stim, do these exercises, da, 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 da. And only until, well, I was doing all of those things and not actually, I was forced to physically cut out, to stop. I was a runner, I was an athlete, I was a personal trainer. I had to stop so much of that because I physically could not do it. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. So I got to a point, um, the 8 years I was living in pretty much chronic pain all the time. I went to several jobs. I had to quit jobs, take time off, move back home in that process, moved to New York City, took in even more healing modalities, and 8 years later, I had to ultimately get surgery because I could not sit, stand, walk, nothing
Mm.
without just sheer pain shooting down my legs and up my spine every single day. I was at an absolute
Wow.
breaking point. I actually had a very good friend who I was living with at the time who was a Pilates instructor, and one of her private clients was a wealthy New Yorker who she told my story to just in a conversation in one of their sessions. And this woman said, send her to my surgeon at the hospital for special surgery. I will pay for her meeting with him. I went in and met with him. I told him my whole story from the past 8 years. And he said he was like almost 90 years old. He was like, well, I can't do surgery on you. My hands don't really work like that anymore. I've got arthritis, but I've got a team. They can do some really good work. It sounds like you're ready. You've tried everything under the sun. So if you'd like to meet with our surgeon, we can get you in for surgery if that's an option that you want. My doctor, Dr. Russell Huang, was, I think I'm getting his name right, was incredible. He described exactly what the process was. He enabled and empowered me to be able to choose what type of surgery I had and what we actually did. And really that was the first time that I felt I'm choosing this for me. I'm going to do this. I've tried everything for 8 years and I just need some fucking relief. And after my surgery, I was instantly felt so much relief. My mom helped me through my recovery. I stayed with her. I had to leave my boyfriend at the time, who then became my husband later. And I felt so much support, so much love. And then in that process of healing after surgery, I did like little microaggressions against myself. You know, I was always a runner. I wanted to get back to running. So I definitely pushed beyond the limits that I had. And in a lot of ways, kind of backtracked on myself. Flash forward, probably about another 7 years later, was working as a marketer, and I had really, you know, I'd always been wanting to achieve this certain level of financial stability. I had an amount in my mind that I was always seeking. And this is what I want my salary to be from like day one of working in New York City. It wasn't happening, and I was experiencing even more physical symptoms. I was getting migraines. My back pain started to come up again, and I was working around the clock. I was coming in on weekends. I was traveling for work, and it came to a point where I was in so much physical pain, even with a yoga practice, not yet really a consistent meditation practice, but I was a gym rat. I was working out at the gym like upwards of 3 hours a day. And I just recognized I can't do this anymore. I was seeing patterns from my previous verbal abuse as a child play out in the workplace, from my managers, from the toxic culture of the environment of where I worked. And I wasn't putting it together that this is a choice, right? Divine has a really interesting way of working through us in handing us the lessons over and over again, giving us the experience, and we may not recognize that we actually have the power to choose, no thank you, this isn't for me. Yeah. So she kept just handing me, okay, you healed from your pain, here's the pain again. Okay, you think you resolved this trauma, you've forgiven your father, you've forgiven all of your abusers, we're going to abuse you again at work, because I wasn't living my purpose. I am not meant to live in a massive city with, you know, this like go lifestyle and always seeking to achieve. I'm not meant to try to strive for a dollar amount. That is not my purpose. And so I was in so much pain. I think there's a quote, some people have quoted it as like the universe or God. I had to make you so uncomfortable so that you would move, because you weren't moving, you weren't leaving, you weren't making that choice, and I wasn't. So I was in so much physical, emotional, and mental pain that I hired a coach for the first time. And in that meeting prior to my Monday morning, I was like, I'll make this meeting on Monday morning because I hate Mondays, I hate Sundays, and I hate Mondays because I'm in so much dread, so much anxiety about what's going to happen when I go to work, and not even just going to work and being in there and doing what I need to do, but even the commute to work. I hate everything about it. And in that first meeting, I was asked, what can you do to improve your situation? What can you do for you? And after I had actually previously, I had actually like redecorated my office and like put up like plants and inspirational quotes and pictures of loved ones, nothing was working. So I decided in that meeting, I'm not willing to do anything else. I just have to leave. And it was like this huge aha moment of, oh my gosh, I have to quit my job.
Wow.
I've never quit my job before. And I went in and I did it wrong. I sent a message to HR and told HR in my letter, and HR responded, this isn't actually how you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to send a letter to your managers and then they send it to me. I was like, okay, well, I'm still doing it. So, and that I just jumped into the unknown because I had no other option. I needed to leave. And from that point, I had no idea what I was doing or where I was going to go. And I just began asking the universe, asking myself, what do I actually want? And I decided to travel with an unknown destination or travel plan, and life just began unfolding from there. As soon as I made that choice and started talking to people about that choice and what I was going to do, I had friends come out of the, out to support me. Oh, I have a house in Guatemala. You can go stay there. What? Okay. You can come stay with me in Germany and teach me yoga and train me as my personal, assistant. What? Okay. I had all these offers. So now I had already had a month-to-month apartment. I had already separated from my husband. I had no assets. I own nothing. I had essentially been setting myself up, unbeknownst to me, to leave, to embark on a journey that was not connected to the space. And it took me being in so much pain to realize, okay, well, I just have to go where I feel good. I have to go with the feelings that I have. And that led me all through Central and South America. I taught yoga for the first time at an eco village in Guatemala. In Colombia. And it just came to me that this is it. This is what I need to be doing. I went and did my teacher training in Bali, and I have essentially never stopped from there. I've been
Well,
back
so
to the
I'm
States.
curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious, at what point did you start seeing all these interventions as the divine at work? When did that awareness of the divine come to you and begin to whisper louder and louder and manifest as the divine?
I think it was when I met my mentor in Vietnam. So I had traveled for about 14 months. I was now trained as a yoga instructor, meditation guide, and I was teaching and working, and I found a mentorship in Hoi An at Nomad Yoga Studio. And it was the first one of its kind that had ever been in my awareness, that after you've done a 200-hour teacher training, you have a mentor who guides you in your specific method, right? Incorporating your learnings with what is going to be your unique signature in this realm. And the moment I met her, I just knew she was sent from the divine. Her loving essence. She was able to say things to me and point out areas of my style and even the shortcomings that I had. She wouldn't even call them shortcomings, that I wasn't seeing. And she also was able to shed a light on my gifts. The first time she observed me teaching, she was just like, what are you even here for? Just like, you're doing, this is unbelievable. Like, and it really enabled me to acknowledge, this is right, this is true for me, and I'm actually really good at it. And
well, that's amazing. So how did there's that journey from the struggle to seeing the divine and seeing how it manifests, then taking that divinity and wanting to share it and make it a part of the message that you put out in the world? How did that happen?
Yeah, great questions, Carrie. It was a journey. She was the first really embodied divine energy that I had ever encountered. She was heavy into witchcraft and goddess worship and beings being from other planets and other realms. And she was comfortable enough in herself and embodied enough in herself. She had been through a very similar journey to mine of leaving the matrix. Hers was just based in the UK. That because we had such a tight bond and a connection, we also became just soul sisters, instant best friends. She was able to share with me her knowing and her guides, her teachers, sources for more information, that it just became a sponge. It's like, what? There's light language, there's different goddess archetypes, there's different goddess energies. What? My background had just been, I was raised Catholic, I became agnostic over my lifetime, and I've always been fascinated by, religions and spirituality and culture, that my awareness of goddess even existing was not, this was just like a whole new world. The same way I felt when I started to study yoga. I was like, did someone just write the book of my soul? Like, what do you mean that this thing that I feel actually comes from somewhere and has already been embodied in other lifetimes and other realms through other entities, and is actually present here with us in me, that I can rely on, that I can call upon, that I can start reflecting and meditating to. And so
did you feel like it was coming home to yourself? I wonder.
Absolutely. Yeah, it felt so, it's so reassuring to know that all of this that I feel, that I was finally allowing myself to actually feel, not only like physical pain and relief, but actual emotions, and connecting like what I feel that I need with, oh, that exists. You can get that from someone. There's Lilith and Aphrodite and Freya, and like there's all of these feminine supports that exist in the world that are here for you. And you just need to talk to them. What the fuck? Like, just insane.
and that awareness, that those goddesses, they have been around for millennia, right?
Yeah.
Like it's this ancient wisdom, this knowledge that in some ways has been, in many ways has been suppressed or hidden or overwritten. And so when you, I have had similar experiences where it's like this discovery, it seems, I would say, of almost a missing piece of self, a missing piece of what you already knew, what already lies within you. And I hear some of what you're saying in resonating with how I've experienced it. So what does that bring up for you when I say that?
That it's because it is oneness, because we all have connection to all of these energies, all of these beings, all of these stories and histories, whether we initially view them as anecdotal, just a story, or we believe that actual beings exist now, or have, or will, as I believe time is not linear, in the future, which could also be the past, that this is part of our shared experience. This is the collective. This is collective consciousness, and this is energy that is a direct reflection of the entire universe, right? Rumi has a quote, you are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in one drop.
Ugh.
That when we start to begin to become aware of these things, all it takes is awareness. You know, we've each had our individual journeys of what actually brought in that awareness that they exist, but they all exist. Always.
Well, I don't know. So I would say maybe it starts with an awareness, but there is also a willingness to accept that is necessary, because I have witnessed the awareness rising, being stamped down by denial and like not being able to take the new awareness and fit it into the current paradigm. And so because it doesn't fit in the current paradigm, it's like, that must not be true, that must not be real, I cannot accept that. So I do believe that it's both awareness and acceptance. What do you think?
Absolutely. There is something in the journey of, I think it comes back to experiencing so much pain and hurt and trying to decipher your why for that, where the awareness of these feelings, right? You know when something resonates with you, when it clicks, it's like an indescribable spark. And in those who feel resistance to it, because there are things that are possible and exist in the world that I don't necessarily believe for myself to be true. So I can understand that on some levels. And I think the part of accepting it is this really strong, undeniable desire to have that connection, to yeah, you want it, right?
It's a
I often
willingness
say,
to receive.
yeah,
It's a willingness to receive. It's an
yeah,
openness.
yeah. And you don't have to be, right? Nothing that we speak about or that, you know, I say exist, it just does exist. No one has to believe it. It may not
It
be
still exists
true.
regardless of whether you believe it. It's still there.
Right. Right, exactly. Like a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it. Does it still make a sound? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. And if you're not willing to, if you're not wanting to accept it, not even really willingness, but is that what your focus is? Is that what you want to call into your life? Then it fits and it works. And if it doesn't, that's the process of letting go of the belief, either the new belief that's coming in that doesn't fit, doesn't resonate, doesn't fit, or this the experience we've had up until now that has formed our worldview as we are. Maybe that needs a little loosening and letting go, right? It can happen on both sides.
I think that so much of what we're raised in and with and surrounded by creates the framework that establishes the confinements of our beliefs. So if it's a tight structure culturally, if it's a tight belief system, the ability for new and for different to get in is so much harder.
Yeah.
Does that make sense at all?
Absolutely. And this plays into a lot of the work that I do with restorative yoga. This is why I came into restorative, because I was in, this is Zara. She wants to say hello. She can feel the energy. when I began my yoga journey, I learned Tantra Katha. I first learned Ashtanga, which is a very, very strict practice. And many people in the West love Ashtanga, Bikram, hot yoga. That's always the same practice. That's really strong, and you don't progress until you've accomplished, you've achieved the baseline, the foundation, and then we build. And
Yikes.
yeah.
No, thank you.
Right. But what I learned with the beautiful teacher, Nora Heelman, I also just wanted to shout out to Liz Golder. She was my mentor. I just realized I didn't mention her name before. Nora taught this Ashtanga training. That was the first yoga training that I'd ever done. And within the structure of Ashtanga, she said, this is a great practice for having a baseline to learn. And what you need to do from here is find your own flow within it. Because if you practice this strong every single day, this exact same practice, you will damage your body. And if your students don't realize the intricacies of how to, for example, lift the spine when opening the hip, and if they just send their legs straight back, for example, coming into Warrior Two, there's going to be a lot of nerve grating. There's going to be too much pressure applied to things like the sacrum and the hip joints and the sacroiliac crest. So it will be to their detriment. So she empowered us to speak to this structure, this rigidity is wonderful. And you also need to find flow within that so that you don't damage yourself with your belief that this is how it is and it needs to be this way. And so,
well, you know, so often people hold on to that. They hold on to the structure. They hold on to the repeatability because there's safety and there's comfortable. There's comfort in it. It's what's known and it's what's accessible. And the flow requires you to be open to what may unfold. And that is risky. I mean, in the most basic sense, it's risky. Like, what's gonna happen? I don't know. Like,
right.
I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
Right. It's super scary. This is fear, right? This is the root of fear, that we're so stuck, wound up in this tight little pod of what we know and trust right now.
It keeps you stuck.
And then, yeah, because and this is what happens constantly with my clients, not only through mostly through restorative yoga practices, because in restorative, for those that don't know, you're essentially lying down for an hour or more. You are giving in to what anything is supposed to look like. And I am practically forcing you to use pillows and props and cushions and blocks and straps to get yourself into a place where you can just release your entire muscular system and let yourself sink in and feel the feeling of what it actually physically feels like to be held. And you can do this, you don't even need props. You can do it on the floor lying in Shavasana. But the things that come out of people from actually allowing themselves, creating that safe space to allow themselves to let go. Number one, it is so awakening. And at the same time, it is still fucking scary. People will say, I don't want to spend time doing that because I'm so afraid of what's going to come out of me. If I let go of this control that I have over my physical body, my vessel in this world, what else am I just going to let go of? And then everything around me, my whole structure is just going to crumble. It's a very real fear.
It is. And the flip side of it is the magic when you start to let the flow in, when you start to explore, when you start to open up. Yeah. And I think you can probably speak more to that.
Yeah. I mean, I have students who have I mean, just because we're speaking of divine feminine energy who have come saying, I can't, you know, my period hasn't come in months, years even. I can't go to the bathroom. I can't excrete waste from my body. And on this, in the same vein, but on a spiritual emotional side, I can't allow myself to, for example, love another person or love my parent who traumatized me. And through work with our root chakra and our entire chakra system, what comes from that is, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, because it's not just me, right? This is not things that have come just from me. This is a co-creation with universe, that I got my period the next day. I haven't had my period in like 7 months. I got my period the day after doing breath work and a restorative practice. I got pregnant within months of doing, I have a course called Your Embodied Divinity. I forgave my mother for years, or just as simple as I actually know how to breathe through my root chakra. And it scares the fuck out of me. You know,
Out of
I'm
you, or
working
is this a client speaking?
out of a client.
Yeah.
It scares the shit out of me, because we're working with our sexual organs, our reproductive organs. There's a muscle called your perineum that's at the base of your spine. This is what your root chakra or Muladhara is. And working with that muscle to contract it, it's what you do when you are doing Kegels, like to practice for birth. You engage that muscle, same muscle you use to stop yourself from urinating and then to allow yourself to urinate when you release it. We don't consciously use this muscle in our daily lives, right? This is a practice. And when people actually commit to doing just that, that alone can be an entire hour of a yoga practice, just sitting and contracting and releasing your perineum muscle. Once people actually allow themselves the time to actually do it, to consciously be aware that their mind can actually control that, they're just launched into another realm. I had no idea that I had this much power inside of me, that I have this much control over my own physical body, over my own vagina, right? Because that's where it is. It's like really intimate, personal, deeply sensitive fears we have around our own bodies and what letting go will do. And literally, like you said, the magic that comes in from allowing yourself to actually, even to just think about it, right? Or like placing your hands on your belly, on your abdomen. We have so much cultural shame around letting my belly stick out and be full. So working with people on learning how to breathe into your belly, that it's okay that you take a full breath, that you let your belly get big, that you might look fat right now. Who's watching you? You're in your home, right? We're doing online yoga, and we still think, oh, I have to suck it in. I have to look, you know, good and sexy to feel good in my body. The fuck? We're really cutting ourselves off from being able to access our own bodies, our wombs, our femininity, our power.
Yeah, and so this is just it's just such an amazing way that the conversation has naturally gone to part of where we wanted it to go, and it's led to this, what you and I have been talking about and have just found such connection and synergy over, which is the divine feminine. And so much of what you're talking about is accessing the divine feminine, is getting in touch with the divine feminine and allowing it to open us up and allow the flow and to allow the healing and transform us. And we're speaking specifically right now about, like, you're talking about the woman's body, but the divine feminine is not a woman's thing. It is
Mm-hmm.
a human's tool. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not about, like, it's not like either divine feminine or divine masculine. It's like bringing it back into balance.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is so beautiful, and it's part of where I want to segue a little bit into what we're doing together moving forward.
Yeah.
You want to share a little
Yeah.
bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So because of this amazing connection, we are doing a embodied feminine demystification joy shop around demystifying what the divine feminine's role is in healing our chronic illness and healing our own pain. And so much of what blocks us from our own healing is that we don't accept and allow in our own access, our birthright, really, to this energy. And you and I have both worked in our own unique ways with the divine, and not just feminine.
Yeah.
And how powerful of an effect that has enabled in us for our own healing journeys and for our clients and our students.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about the misunderstandings that come with just opening yourself up to the fact that this energy does exist, and how you can practically, in a modern way, you work with the energy that's available to us all, and how this helps not only in our own conceptualization of the acceptance within us of what we are experiencing, and that we do not need to suffer, that we create this suffering for ourselves. Yes, there will be physical pain. Yes, there will be emotional anguish. Yes, there will be mental anxiety and fears. And we're going to be opening the conversation to participants around what their fears are, what their misunderstandings are, what their questions are, and how they can begin to work with it if they're not already. And if they are, how they can work with it even more to heal
How to go
themselves.
deeper. How to go
Yeah.
deeper.
Yeah. Because
I'm so excited. It's going to be so absolutely fantastic, and it's not, it's a shared it's a sharing of our experiences, you know, you coming from the chronic pain perspective, me coming from the chronic illness perspective, and
yeah.
how our own journeys have informed our understanding of the divine feminine, how our own learnings and our teachings have got us to this place of, I think earlier you were talking about just the depth of gratitude that you have for life. And I too, yesterday I had my birthday, and there's just,
Yeah.
I had a brief moment of like, oh my gosh, I'm this much closer to the next milestone. Like, I don't want that. But then it was like, I gave myself a quick, swift kick in the butt, because it's like, I didn't think I could have this milestone 4 years ago. So it's that immense gratitude that we bring
Right.
forward in what we're sharing as well, in the learnings of our journeys.
Absolutely. And all of the, I wanted to talk a little bit also about the connection you mentioned between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. That yes, we both work with majority women. And from the yogic perspective, we are all, and from your understanding and your beliefs and teachings as well, we all have these two energies within us. from yoga, from the philosophy, we have Ha and Ta. The Hatha tradition is based on these two entities, these two energies. Ha is our sun energy. It is masculine. It's not male or female. It's masculine and feminine. The male energy is very like analytical and strong and very single pointed focus and able to analyze and assess and thinks in terms of numbers and letters and lists and organization, and is able to streamline, right? You're laughing.
I am laughing.
Why?
Because
Tell
I'm a
us.
Leo sun, fire, moon, masculine, and I'm like all of those things.
Yes. And your wholeness around embodying that energy is part of what makes you so magical, because you own that energy. And you also have the Ta, the moon, the feminine. This is creation, literally creation energy, womb space. This is soothing and rest and restoring. And it also views the entirety of oneness. It doesn't see the letters and the numbers and the symbols and the lists. And it has the capacity to view all. This is why women are multitaskers and we are so emotional, because that's our energy, our dominant energy. And we don't see numbers and letters. We see color and shape and pattern, and we don't distinguish, we don't differentiate where something ends, where my physical body ends and the rest of the world begins. Ha energy, sun, is very individualistic. It's ego, and it's not bad. And Ta energy is all encompassing, knowing that you are part of everything and being able to take it in and also give it back, to receive. Yoga means union, essentially. Wow. So it is at its core the union within each of us of these two energies. They crisscross like almost like I like to say the DNA double helix, but that's like a staircase. This is a crisscross, and where these two crisscross, what's called Sushumna is your spinal column, the central energy nadi or pathway that runs directly along your spine, your central nervous system, where all of your nerves are. The two Ida and Pingala, Ha and Ta, crisscross, and where they meet are your chakra centers.
Oh my gosh.
So by breathing fully through your entire physical body and feeling where you may have some resistance or some blockages, but when you're able to fully breathe through your whole system, that is the union, that is the uniting of the two energies, to be able to accept and allow that you are both in one being. You are the entire ocean of energy in your literal physical manifestation on this planet.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I feel like you are this well of deep knowledge about not only this intersection, but this intersection as it ties into yoga and the breath work and all of that. It's just stunning.
Thank you. You cut out a little bit because it just began to rain here, so the internet is being slightly affected by it, I believe. Okay. But what I got from that was that I think you said a ball of energy. Maybe.
I said a well of insight and understanding about the intersections of the divine feminine and divine masculine, not only alone, but within the context of the yogic teachings.
Yeah. Thank you. That is what I hope to share and bring and will in this joy shop. In addition to very practical ways to mindfully move your body, to help heal yourself and to recognize what your essence is and how you can access it.
Yeah, and I actually say it a little bit differently, and
Yeah.
it's a and. It's not an or, it's an and.
Yeah.
And that and is the I see the divine feminine as that inner knowing, that intuition, that inner wisdom that you're tapping into and accessing to allow in your story, well, you talk so much about how you're um, connecting with the external, right? Your external doctors, external therapies, external treatments, all of these things.
Hmm.
And part of what I heard the journey to be is the divine showed up when you started recognizing the inner wisdom within you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what most of this work is about. That's what the focus is. When we can start tuning within and tuning out, appreciating it, right? It speaks to this gratitude that we both have. Immense gratitude for all of the learning that we gain from the external world, right? From doctors, from healers, and really the true awakening, or the ultimate awakening that I have experienced, has been when I can observe. This is what I gained from meditation. I can observe everything around me, and I can take in information, because that's all it is. It exists, and I can filter it through my own system. And then I can ask, is this for me? Is this my
Mhm.
knowing? Right? Is this true for me? Is this right? Does this work? Does this support me?
Yeah.
And if yes, then I can take it on. I can actually embody it in practices and make it a part of my life and my journey. And if it's not, I can wish it well and thank it for the information, for the awareness, and still accept and say, I'm letting that go
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
grace. Zara just wants to be noticed here. She's pushing the computer around.
So I wanted to explore a little bit this term joy shop. People are so used to the term of a workshop. So
Yeah.
what makes a joy shop a joy shop?
Great question. This came to me in the realization maybe about a year ago, that we're very familiar with work. We all do work. What do you do for a living? What do you do for work? What's the inner work that you do? I'm working on myself. I'm doing my self work. And work carries with it this assumption that it's hard, right? And it is hard. There are many challenges. And what I realized over time is that in stepping more fully into what I choose for me and what works for me, is that all it brings me is more joy.
Mm,
That it's a joy for me to do the work. That it's a
mhm.
joy for me to, you know, do my ritual practices and my meditations. It brings more joy up inside of me. It brings more joy to those that I choose to share it with. It's like exponentiating joy. And just by acknowledging it within myself and experiencing the world through that lens of what I know to be true, I radiate joy. I feel joy coming back to me. It's like the things that you become aware of, you start to see them everywhere. And so in doing the work, this is Byron Katie's term, if you're familiar with
Yeah.
the work. Yeah.
Yeah.
That in doing the work, it doesn't feel like work to me anymore. I remember the quote, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life again.
Yeah.
And what I do, I love so much that it feels so much more like joy than work. And I really
Yeah.
love reframing, myth busting, taking, just like today, we're flipping the script. I love flipping the script. I love just contemplating a term and redefining it for myself. And so there was a time when I was looking at, Am I working? Do I want to work? No, I'm essentially retired, right? I don't work. Who wants to work? Nobody wants to work, right? Work is like hard, and you have to like compromise and give away, what is it called? Overstep your boundaries, and you have to like, it's always like we do hard work in the West. This is all it is. Nothing good ever comes if you're not working hard enough. Why am I abusing myself? For what?
Yeah.
So that I can end up in a space where I'm miserable again. I was there. So I no longer want to choose to go back to working hard, and it has to be a challenge. It has to be tough. There, of course, are challenges, but they're more emotional than and spiritual. And what comes out of that is just pure joy. So I choose to call this joy shop as opposed to workshop. Because yes, of course we're doing work, but do we want to focus on what's hard about it? I want to focus on what's joyful about it, what it brings into my experience, as opposed to what the challenges are.
It's so fantastic too, because it's not just about you and me and what we're putting out there. It's what the participants can pull out of it, what they're going to experience, the joy they'll radiate themselves through the learnings and teachings and understandings that they gain from being with us and sharing in the demystification.
Yeah. The work is just being willing to show up and to speak your truth, right? To be able to say, this is what I'm confused about. This is my question. This is what's really hard for me. This is where I'm at. This is my struggle. That's the work. And once you show up, once you take the first step, it just eases into joy. Because you begin to understand, we've experienced it too. It's part of the human experience, and it enables us to understand and have compassion for not only one another, but for ourselves even more. That it all just comes back to love in the end.
Yeah, it does. It does. It comes back to love and light and oneness.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
And so, the big question is like, okay, well, what do we do now? Like, we're interested in the joy shop. We want to find out more. So what's the next step? So can they, I think we've talked about like messaging, start off messaging, but how else? What do you say?
How can they reach us, you mean?
Yeah.
Or get in touch. Yeah.
Like what's your best way of accessing you?
Best way to access me is on either Facebook Messenger. You can follow Love It Yoga Coaching and message me directly on there, or you can message me directly at Beth Parasmo. And also email.
Yeah.
Emails are great because then I can send, and you can send people all of the details for the Joy Shop, and also any questions that you have. I can immediately answer them with attachments in email. It's much easier to send you, say, for example, a link to a class that might pertain to your specific issue. And I can also send you like coaching questions through PDFs, and we can send you the outline for the Joy Shop. So my email is bethparasmo@gmail.com. So yeah, either of those two ways would be wonderful. And
awesome.
How about you, Carrie?
Well, I'm available on Facebook through Messenger. My business page is Carrie Mbakier. So it's one of those names. There's not too many of us out there. I'm on Facebook. And email is simply carrie@carriebakier.com. So that's really super easy, as long as you can spell my last name, which will be in the notes, I believe. So wonderful. I just can't wait to hear from folks and hear their interest level and get them, all of us together, this collective coming together to share and radiate and learn and tap into the divine feminine even more and even deeper. That's what I'm so excited about.
Yeah. Having a space where we can be in community with one another.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, to share the shared experience of having lived through and even be currently living with chronic illness, chronic pain. These things are debilitating, but we're not alone. We have each
We're not
other.
alone. Yeah.
And you so aptly refer to yourself as an ally in this. And I love that. It's beautiful. Because we are all each other's allies. And with having the experience of going through this personally, we just want to share our wisdom with what we've learned about ourselves through the pain.
Yeah.
Through being
we want to
so
share
sick.
our messy middle so it doesn't have to be quite so messy for you.
Oh, I love it. You're such a poet.
I don't know
A
about
messy
that.
middle. Yeah, like our first conversation, the gift of rising and the share your messy middle. I love it. That also speaks to like the breath, breathing really into your middle, into your belly. They're messy, they're jiggly.
They're messy.
There's lots of organs and guts and stuff in there. There's energy, there's life force. It's a mess.
It is,
but
a
we're
mess.
not a mess.
No.
It's like you can be experiencing, like how I've done a lot of teaching children in my life, and you have children, so I'm sure you've heard this terminology that we speak to.
Oh boy, that's messy.
Yeah, right. That's messy. But you're not a mess, right? It's like identifying what the experience is separate from what you are, who you are. Like,
yeah, it's like the difference between shame and guilt.
Yeah. What is that difference?
So the guilt is I made a mistake. Shame is I am a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I've never heard that. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was speaking to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was what you were saying, just in different words.
Yeah. Just something happening and letting it be because of me and forever,
Yeah.
That I'm bad or wrong. No, it's just a bad, wrong thing happened. Yeah. And it can get better.
And it can get better. And that's part of what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do with the Joy Shop is to help others who are in places that we have been get better. Not only get better, but get better quicker.
Yeah.
And more completely.
Decrease that time between, oh my God, what the heck am I doing? And I feel bliss today. Yeah. Shrink the timelines.
Yeah. So we have had such a fantastic conversation, and we've really covered a lot here. I'm feeling like we probably should wrap up at some point. And I'm just wondering if you have any like last thoughts that must be heard.
Let me check in. What's asking to be expressed is this, what you had brought up at the beginning of our conversation around darkness, being attracted to the light within you. That if you feel like you're in a space of darkness, that there is hope. And maybe you can speak to that since these were your words.
Yeah, so it was really a great conversation. And what I was sharing is that one of my major misunderstandings that created such healing when I fixed it, when I came to realize the truth. The misunderstanding is that that there was something, that darkness in my life was coming into my life because it was attracted to darkness within me. There was some inherent flaw or mistake or ugliness or badness within me that was attracting the darkness. And what transformed so much for me is the understanding that the darkness was not attracted to my darkness. The darkness was attracted to my light, and the darkness was seeking my light to be illuminated. And understanding that there's such freedom, and there's such hope, and there's such elation in realizing the truth of who we are, the truth that we are one, and as one, we are sourced from love and light. We are love and light. That is the core of our essence, nothing more. It's all love and light. And so the darkness is something that has gotten separated from that oneness, gotten separated from that love and light, and is seeking reintegration. And it's such a transformative concept, and goes beyond concept to feeling and a knowing and an understanding that permeates your whole life and lifts you up.
Yes, I love this so much. And how funny and divine that look at where we are in terms of light and dark in the video.
I'm like, I can't get up to turn on the light because then I'm off the video screen and I'm watching the light dwindle and I'm disappearing.
But you're
I'm
not
like,
disappearing. We are here together. We are one. It's like yin and yang, right? It's and we are on opposite ends of the world, almost exactly. So I feel like it's this like massive embrace that we are just wrapping the whole world in, and bringing lightness to dark and darkness to light, bringing both.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
and
you
the
for sharing
picture,
that.
just to wrap it back around, the picture, if I understand it correctly, of the yin and the yang is the darkness and the light, right? Like the divine feminine and the divine masculine, just in visualization is how it's pictured.
Yeah. And there's a piece of each in each.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like drops, and there's the opposite energy within each one. And I do also feel that, in this process of illuminating the darkness within us, that, and I want to share that and to make it known that there is nothing wrong, just like you said, with the darkness that you experience. Even when darkness is coming into you, when you feel it, it is light in its essence, same as light is darkness. And we understand each one even greater by delving into each one. So it's not that darkness doesn't have a place. It does have a place. And the understanding of the darkness and owning it. And I mean, the goddess energy has taught me this, if nothing else, that being in those dark emotions, those dark thoughts, is what empowers you to transmute that energy, to alchemize it into the light that you want to be. And yet this cycle, right? This yin and yang is a never-ending cycle. It's not that oh, I resolved all my darkness and now it's just pure light and all I emit is radiating light, right?
But
All
wouldn't
the
that be
time,
nice?
24/7. Well, how would we make that possible? This is like the coaching aspect of it. If that's what we really want, to just radiate light all the time, constantly, it is possible. We can make that possible. How? Right? What are the things that we set up for ourselves to make that possible? And then when the darkness comes in again, because inevitably there will be the things that touch upon our darkness, that we have systems and practices of loving the darkness, of loving the lessons that it gives us, of loving the understandings along with the misunderstandings, because what actually happens is that it becomes lighter in terms of weight and lighter in terms of actual luminescence and light. And when it's going to come again, and it's okay, because then we're like, oh, I recognize you, darkness. We're old friends. We're buds, right? we can throw a little darkness party. Maybe we scream, maybe we cry, maybe we, punch pillows, and we get back into that space. But over time, what has been my experience is that the time I go from, oh my God, to, oh, I'm all good. I know this. I got this dialed. Just get smaller and smaller and smaller until I can recognize, even, you have a flare-up recovery plan.
It's exactly what I was thinking of.
Right?
Yeah. Because the flare-up recovery plan does exactly that. It allows you to use the wisdom of what you've already been through to customize a plan for how to recover the next time the darkness comes, the flare-up hits, your symptoms rise up, so that you don't spiral, so the darkness doesn't suck you down, so that you can triage the immediate acute emergency, because you have a plan, you have the phone numbers, you have the people you need to call, you have the medicine, you know where it is, all of these things. It's like, I've been here. Hello, I'm good.
Yeah. And even just the remembrance, right? This is what we talk a lot about in coaching, is like, how do you set yourself up? What tools and resources do you use to support yourself in getting there again and again and again, right? And if we can't remember, then we set up systems like this plan to remind us, oh yeah, I've been here before. I'm not going to die, right? I'm going to die someday. I'm not going to die right now. That this
won't
pain,
kill me.
Yeah, this isn't going to kill me. It doesn't mean, like, I'm not allowing my brain to go to this crazy place of fear that, like, this is it, this is the end, and it's going to be forever, and I'm gone. That we can come back to, oh yeah, I know this. I've done this before. I've been here. I can get out of it again. So yeah, I'm going to pass the question back to you. Is there anything else that you feel that needs to be expressed before we close?
I just think that what we're doing here is so special and so needed. And I think you would agree that what we're trying to do is generate conversation, and in talking about the divine feminine, bringing it forward and starting to integrate it into our lives, that's where the power lies. And so I just want to acknowledge the magic, and it's not just you and me, it's the magic in the people we bring together. And so I'm just looking forward to that synergy and that, again, that collaboration.
Yeah, the co-creation.
The co-creation. Yep.
Yeah. Lovely.
So
absolutely beautiful.
So shall we wrap here and call it nighttime, daytime? Because we can't call it night, we can't call it day.
Yeah. Good nighttime, daytime. Yes. Wonderful.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Carrie. This has been beautifully illuminating, and yeah, love you.
Thank you.